Today I'll be going over the top 10 guns that I think you should level up before Warzone drops November 14th. I'll be ranking these from 10th through 1st, with the number 1 gun being absolutely broken right now. Starting us off at number 10 is the LR762 sniper rifle. In my opinion, this will be the best sniper off rip in Warzone. The reason being is because it has higher damage than the frost line. It is slightly heavier, but I do think for Warzone, that trade-off is worth it. So for the class build, I built this primarily for Warzone. For the first attachment, I'm going to put on the Repullze dual zoom. This sight, in my opinion, is the best sight for all sniper rifles. I personally thought snipers were pretty easy to get headshots with for the master camo grind, just due to this sight alone. Then, as of right now, muzzles don't really do much. They only help with vertical recoil, horizontal recoil, but the suppressors, maybe this might change for Warzone. They don't give you any bullet velocity, so I'm not going to put on a muzzle for this build. I would go ahead and put on the barrel. I'd put on the reinforced barrel. This is gonna help with damage range and bullet velocity. Then for the underbarrel, I'm gonna go ahead and put on the lightweight handguard. This is gonna help with that aiming idle sway. Then I'm gonna go ahead and put on the commando grip. This is gonna help with that aimed out sight speed and that sprint to fire speed. If you are a faster sniper player, you could put on the quick draw grip, but you'll lose a little bit of flinch resistance. Then finally, in my opinion, I would put on the rapid fire mod to make this sniper shoot a lot quicker. Coming in at number 9 is the PP919. The PP, for those of you that don't recall, is pretty much a remake of the Bison and of the Bullfrog. Because this gun has a starting ammo size of 64, this is gonna make you get 1 free attachment pretty much whenever building this class. So let's get into the build. For SMGs, I personally don't think they need an optic, so I'm gonna go ahead and put on the compensator muzzle first. This is gonna help with horizontal recoil control and vertical recoil control. Then next, I'm gonna put on the reinforced barrel. This is gonna help with that damage range and bullet velocity. For rear grip, I'm gonna go ahead and put on the commando grip. This is gonna help with that aimed out sight speed and the sprint to fire speed. You could also use the CQB grip if you wanted to. This is gonna help with that dive to fire speed, slide to fire speed, and sprint to fire speed. As you'll see, I'm going to put on the balance stock in practically every gun. This is gonna help with that strafing speed. It's gonna help with the aim walking movement speed, hip fire movement speed, and strafing movement speed. I personally think this is gonna be meta for every single sub and practically every single AR. And then lastly, I'm gonna put on the recoil springs. Because we get that free attachment for not having the magazine on, I put on the recoil springs to pretty much make this gun not have any recoil. But if you do feel like you don't need that, you could take off the recoil springs and add the magazine. And what I would probably do is change this to the Fast Mag 1. What this is gonna do is pretty much give you only 50 rounds, which is still pretty viable, and it's gonna make you aim down sight faster and sprint to fire faster. To be honest, you choose which one of these builds you like better. Honestly, they're both gonna be really good. Coming in at number 8 is the AK-74 AR. The AK has a pretty crazy headshot multiplier, and this thing definitely packs a punch. In multiplayer, this gun absolutely shreds, and I know in Warzone, it should be pretty viable. Again, I wanna reiterate, we don't know if any attachments are gonna be changing or any damage values are gonna be changing when Warzone comes out, but I think the AK-74 is a pretty safe bet to level up before the game comes out. Just as a side note, this was the first gun that I dropped the nuke with in multiplayer, so this thing definitely hits. If I was to build this class right now in Warzone, these are the attachments that I would use. So I would use the Jason Armory 2X. I do believe that the 2X might be meta this year. You never know. It all depends. First, we had the 3X, which was meta back in the first couple Warzones. Or to be honest, for Dansk, it was red dot. Then it was a 3X. Then after that, it was last year was just all red dots. We'll see what plays out this year. I'm gonna bet that the Jason Armory 2X might be meta. Then after that, you're gonna have the reinforced barrel. This helps with the damage range and the bullet velocity, which I do think almost every single gun in Warzone will probably be using this barrel, unless they change it for Warzone. Then we have the Ranger foregrip. This also, I think, is going to be meta. Helps with the horizontal recoil control and sprinting movement speed. Honestly, there's a couple other ones that you could use. You could use this if you struggle a little bit more with recoil, the precision foregrip, maybe even marksman. But in my opinion, I think most people will be using the Ranger foregrip. Then you want to go ahead and put on the extended mag 3. Default, this gun has 30 rounds. So I personally think that 60 rounds will probably be the best. If anything, if you want, you're going to be a little bit more mobile, you could put on the extended mag 2, and this will add 50 rounds instead of 60, which honestly could be okay too. That one is more of a personal preference. You choose whatever you think would be beneficial to you. Do you want you're going to be a little bit slower but have more rounds, or be a little bit faster but have less rounds? And then finally, in my opinion, the stock that is going to be extremely meta is going to be the balanced stock, right? So now, when it comes to ARs, I want you guys to keep this in mind. If you want more recoil control, I would put on the last attachment would be recoil springs. If you want you're going to have a little bit more strafe, I would put on the balanced stock. And if you want you're going to be aiming down faster just a little bit, I would put on a rear grip, which that one you could put on quick draw grip, you could put on commando. This one is completely up to you. But in my opinion, this balanced stock is broken and I love it. I love being able to strafe side to side whenever I'm in gunfights, make that gun a little bit more mobile. So balanced stock, in my opinion, is what I would use. Coming in at number 7 is the XM4 AR. This gun, as you know, is going to be a very well balanced M4. The M4 or XM4 has been in the game for a very long time, and this gun is always pretty viable. If there's any gun that I think is going to be the safest bet, I think the XM4 will be usable and viable when Warzone drops. Let's get into the class setup. So in my opinion, first and foremost, I'm gonna put on a sight. Now I know last time I told you guys to do the Jason 2X. For this one, you can change it up a bit, and I personally I call this the Volkanovski sight. This one right here, I personally love it. I think it's dope. Then, okay, when it comes to recoil, if you want strictly vertical recoil, I would go compensator. But if you want more or less horizontal recoil, you want to fix that, then I would put Ranger. But for this one, I would stick to compensator. The compensator gives you 35% vertical recoil and 31% recoil gun kick. So in my opinion, this will probably be what to use. Then as always, use the reinforced barrel. This gives you damage range and bullet velocity. As of right now, there's no muzzles that give you that. So this barrel is probably going to be the most important, and I think it's going to be meta. Then the magazine for the XM4, you start off at a 30 round mag. So I went ahead and put on the 60 round mag. Again, you could go crazy if you want and put on the 100 round mag, but it's going to make you incredibly slow. I would just stick to the 60 round. And then lastly, I personally love a more strafey build. I would put on the balanced stock. If you use this class setup and it has too much recoil, you can go ahead and add the recoil springs, or you can go ahead and add the underbarrel of the Ranger foregrip, or even change the balanced stock to the heavy stock. In my opinion, the XM4 is one of my favorite guns ever, and I really am excited to try to make this as strafey and as lightweight as possible and get in people's faces and see if I can recreate the OG XM4 feel. Coming in at number 6 is the Jackal SMG, which in my opinion is the most fun SMG on this list. In my opinion, the Jackal PTW is the most fun gun in the game right now in Black Ops 6. Now, I hope this transfers over to Warzone, but this gun's movement speed is absolutely crazy. It kills very fast, and in my opinion, they are going to sell the bag if they don't make this meta at least some point during Black Ops 6 Warzone integration. This gun does have a little bit slower of a time to kill, but honestly, it's very good. It moves incredibly fast, and for all you movement demons out there, I think this is probably going to be the class for you. So for the class setup, this gun does have a little bit more recoil than all the other subs, so I changed it up just a tad. I'm going to start this off with the ported compensator. Now, the reason why I chose the ported compensator and not the regular compensator is that this gun adds first shot recoil control. What the ported compensator does is it pretty much recenters your dot back to the center in between bullets of recoil. Now, because this gun does have a slightly slower rate of fire than other guns, I think it's going to affect it a little bit more than if you would put this on a really fast SMG. Then I'm going to go ahead and put on the reinforced barrel for the bullet velocity and the damage range. As you know, this will be meta. Then we have the Ranger foregrip. This is going to give you that horizontal recoil control and sprinting movement speed. Again, you can change this up to whatever you want. In my opinion, I think Ranger is going to be the most fun, and I think it's going to be meta and what most people are going to be using. Or if you can't really handle recoil control too much, I would put on the vertical foregrip. That's going to help you a little bit with that horizontal recoil. The Jackal PTW starts with 30 rounds, so I went ahead and added the extended mag 1, which is going to up that by 10 and put it to 40. Now, they do have the extended mag 2, which raises it to 50, but I do think that's going to slow the gun down a lot. Maybe this might be what everybody uses, but in my opinion, I think 40 might be just right. And then lastly, I'm going to put on the balanced stock. This is going to help with the aiming, walking movement speed, the regular movement speed, hip fire movement speed, and strafing movement speed. When it comes to this game, strafing, in my opinion, will be king, and I think the more you can handle recoil control while having your gun have a lot of mobility, I think that's going to be the play for Warzone. So play with this build. Let me know what you guys think. Feel free to change things as you go. If there's one thing I would highly recommend to always have is a reinforced barrel and the extended mags. All the other attachments, feel free to go ahead and switch them out. Halfway down the list, we're moving on to number 5 is the Model L AR. The Model L right now is considered the best AR in the game in Black Ops 6. I know it's rated at a 5. I'll tell you why right now, but in my opinion, this gun is going to be good. I do have some concerns with this gun. It does fire pretty fast, so you do have to put on the extended mag 2, which is going to make the gun that much more slower. So because of that, I do think there's one more AR that will be better than that, which I'll get to in a little bit, but let me give you guys a class. Okay, so when it comes to sights, again, this is all personal preference. I do think it's going to be the Volkanovski, the Jason 2, or the Willis 3X. I personally love the Willis 3X. It all depends on how much bullet velocity these guns are going to have when Warzone comes out to see if this is viable or not. Then I went ahead and put on the compensator muzzle. This gun does have a little bit more recoil, so I went and put that on just to help control it that much better. As always, put on the reinforced barrel. It's going to help with bullet velocity and damage range. I was going to put an underbarrel on this, but then I went ahead and put on the compensator. I do think that vertical recoil control is going to help a lot more. As I said earlier, this gun does does fire pretty fast, so I went ahead and put on the extended mag 2, which is going to give you only 50 rounds. The extended mag 1 gives you 40 rounds. In my opinion, I think when it comes to Warzone and it comes to big squads, extended mag 2 will probably be the play here. You never know. This depends on the time to kill and how fast this gun kills. And lastly, balanced stock. I love strafey guns. This is what I'm going to rock on this gun. If you find this gun still has too much recoil control, take off the stock, put on a rear grip, put on a fire mod, or put on an underbarrel. Moving on to the number 4 gun is the C9 SMG, aka the MP5. As you guys know, the C9 or the MP5 is always going to be in every single Call of Duty. The MP5 is always meta at some point during Warzone's life cycle. That's why I think this is a good safe bet for you to level up this gun before it drops. This build that I have here has really good strafe, really good recoil control, and honestly, this could be the number 1 gun. For the first attachment, I'm going to put on the compensator muzzle, and it's going to help with vertical recoil control. This gun does kick, so I do think I'm going to put a little bit more attributes into the recoil aspect of this gun. Then, as always, I'm going to put on the reinforced barrel for the range and the bullet velocity. Next, I'm going to put on an underbarrel, and for this one, I'm going to put on the Ranger grip. It's going to help with that horizontal recoil control and that sprinting movement speed. So I do want to find a happy balance between movement and recoil. So the C9 does start off with a 30-round mag, so I went ahead and put on the extended mag 1, and that's going to help bump it up to 40. I wonder if this is going to need the 50 round or not. I don't know. We'll see. For now, I'm going to put that 40 round mag. And lastly, as always, I'm going to put on the balanced stock. This is going to help with the strafing movement speed, the regular movement speed, the hip fire movement speed, and the aiming walking movement speed. Coming in at number 3, and arguably the best SMG right now, is the KSV. The KSV has it all, in my opinion. It has the damage, it has the movement. Honestly, if this is not meta on launch, I will be very surprised. If anything, it's going to be this gun or the C9. But if I'm wrong, please don't hate me. In Black Ops 6, this is arguably the best gun to use. This one or the C9. Some people even like the Jackal. So let's go ahead and build this class for Warzone. I do have 2 class builds here, so let me know what you guys think. This first class is going to be mainly made for strafe and for speed. If you can't handle the recoil on this build, don't worry, I have another one that's more catered towards recoil control. So first and foremost, I'm going to put on the compensator to help with that vertical recoil control. Then I'm going to put on the reinforced barrel for that damage range and the bullet velocity. Then next, I'm going to put on the extended mag 1. This does raise it from 30 rounds to 40. Is that enough? I don't know. But if you want, go ahead and put on the extended mag 2, and this is going to give you 50 rounds if you so choose to. Then the next attachment is very important, is a CQB grip. It's going to help with that dive to fire speed, that slide to fire speed, and the sprint to fire speed. This rear grip is going to be super important if you want that super fast build and you want to get real mixy. Then lastly, as always, I'm going to put on the balance stock for the strafe, the movement speed, the hip fire movement speed, and the aim walking movement speed. Now, this gun does have a little bit of recoil, so what I would recommend if this gun does have too much is take off the CQB grip and put on the vertical foregrip. This gun has a lot of horizontal recoil, and I do think that putting on the vertical foregrip is going to make it that much better. Finally, down to the last 2 guns. Coming in number 2 is the AEK Marksman Rifle. Now, I might be cheating here, but this gun does come with a caveat. To make this gun viable in my eyes, you definitely need the Gunfighter wildcard. With 5 attachments on this gun, I just simply don't think it's good enough, but when you add 8 attachments, this gun becomes absolutely insane. As of right now in multiplayer, this is the gun I have the most amount of nukes with. 90% of people are running this gun, so let's get into the build for Warzone. Again, it is a 3-round burst gun, so use that as you may. So here are the 8 attachments for the AEK to make this gun incredibly broken. I would first put on the Jason Armory 2.1X. Then I would put on the compensator muzzle for that vertical recoil control to help kind of make those bursts slightly smaller. Then the reinforced barrel, as always, for the damage range and the bullet velocity. Now this underbarrel is very important. This is the vertical foregrip, which helps with the horizontal recoil control. Due to this gun being a burst fire gun, you're not going to need that much ammo, so I think the extended mag 1, which gives you 45 rounds, is perfect for Warzone. For the rear grip, I would put on the commando grip. This is going to help with that aiming out sight speed and the sprint to fire speed. As always, we're going to put on the balance stock. We're going to help this gun strafe a lot faster, have better movement speed, hip fire movement speed, and aiming walking movement speed. Then lastly, if there's anything in my opinion that's going to make this gun incredibly broken that you absolutely need, is the rapid fire mod. This is the gun's burst without the mod. Now this is the gun's burst with the mod. In my opinion, the AK is going to be really good in Warzone. Again, the damage values could change when Warzone comes out. Right now, we're kind of just throwing darts at the board and hoping to see what sticks. No one actually knows what will be meta, but this is a pretty safe bet in my opinion. Now, finally, the moment y'all been waiting for, the number 1 gun that I think will be meta when Warzone launches. This gun is absolutely broken, has the fastest long-range time to kill in Black Ops 6 currently, so I assume it's only going to get better when Warzone launches. And that gun is the PU-21 LMG. Now, I'll start off by saying I personally hate LMGs, but this gun does have a mag that pretty much converts this into an AR. This PU-21 is absolutely broken. Go ahead and use it on Black Ops 6 right now, and you die so fast using this gun. It has moderate recoil, but honestly, the headshots on this is insane. Just in general, the time to kill on this, I expect to be incredibly fast. Being able to convert this LMG pretty much to an AR with that magazine is going to be game-changing. We've seen it with the Bruin back in Warzone 1, and honestly, I think this is going to be the gun that everybody should have leveled up when Warzone drops. So for the class setup, I have the Volkanovski reflex sight. I have the compensator muzzle. This is for that vertical recoil control. Then I have the reinforced barrel for the damage range and the bullet velocity. Then, in my opinion, I do think this gun needs it, is the vertical foregrip. This is going to help with that horizontal recoil control. And then lastly, in my opinion, what makes this gun so good is not having to have that constraint of this being an LMG. This kind of converts it into an AR with the Fast Mag 1. Pretty much what that does is it makes it reload faster, aim down sight speed faster, and sprint to fire speed. There is the Fast Mag 2, which you can also have, but I personally don't think that's viable. It's only 30 round mags. This right here, 45 round mag, is perfect. At the end of the day, nobody really has any idea of what's going to be meta when Warzone drops, but in my opinion, I do think these 10 guns have the highest probability of being in the meta. So if you're able to level up these 10 guns before Warzone launch, I think you're in a really good position.